Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Juan Solo here with ASQD Gaming, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in today for some more Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So in today's video, we're going to be talking all things Title Update 4.1, aka Operation Motherland, because we got a brand new trailer for the update itself, as well as a news article going down through a bunch of main points of the DLC. So in this video, we're going to be going down through the news article, and then tomorrow we're going to be doing a full breakdown of the new trailer that was just released. But with that being said, there will be a link down below in the description to the new trailer, as well as the news article that we're getting all of the information for today's video. But real quick, before we jump into it, if you guys go on to enjoy the video, a like rating would be super appreciated. Also, for those of you that may be new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications so you do not miss any of my future uploads. Also, for those of you that wish to support the creation of more content here on the channel, make sure to hit that join button right next to the subscribe button to become a channel member. It will be the top link down below in the description, so make sure to go check it out. So jumping over to the article talking about Title Update 4.1, aka Operation Motherland, it goes on to say, Ghost, we are very excited to announce Operation Motherland and the new Conquest mode coming to Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint on November 2nd. So this is where it takes a little bit of a turn, because I know there were a number of people that were very interested in knowing what happens at the end of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, because after the reveal of Operation Motherland on October 5th, the devs went on to say that Nomad was returning to the island. So this kind of goes in depth and explains that a little bit, and I'm assuming when the actual update releases, we'll get some more clarification on those events. But it goes on to say that your mission on Aroa is over and Nomad has left the island. A few months later, the island has become a key strategic target for powerful countries interested in controlling the island and its technology. The CIA aims to ease global tensions by giving the power on the island to a neutral force, Ito and the Outcasts, turning Aroa into an autonomous country. This operation, led by Karen Bowman, is called Operation Motherland. So hopefully we do get a little bit more clarification in the DLC itself, but it seems to be that Operation Motherland takes place 3 months after the events of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and we don't really know how Nomad got off the island, but in this DLC, he has already left the island. I'm assuming he left and went to the Wasp, which was the aircraft carrier that was sort of sitting just offshore, and maybe hung out for a little bit. Maybe he went back to the States. We don't really know. But according to this, Operation Motherland, he comes back 3 months after those events, and that is where this DLC is going to be taking place. So now moving on to this new Conquest mode, here's the image that actually goes with it, and it looks like some sort of territory system similar to Ghost Recon Wildlands. It looks like we're going to have to go through and take over the different territories on Aroa, which it does look like they are broken up differently than the actual regions in the game, because the territories look much larger. It almost looks like there is 2 regions per territory. But the article goes on to say that Conquest mode is a new alternative mode to the classic Ghost Recon Breakpoint story mode, with an emphasis on player actions having consequences on the island of Aroa. A variety of missions will be available to choose from, including destroying objectives, securing enemy camps, stealing vehicles, and choosing to extract or eliminate the 4 Bodark lieutenants. So that is the first mention. So the actual enemy that we're going to be going up against on the island of Aroa in this DLC is actually Bodark. Bodark is returning, and it's not just like a Russian faction. It is actually officially deemed Bodark, which, to be honest, I'm pretty excited, because they are definitely a formidable opponent. The first time we ran into them in the Red Patriot DLC, it really wasn't that big of a deal, because it was sort of like the higher ups of Bodark. We really didn't have any new soldiers or anything scattered around the island, but in this DLC, I believe that is exactly what's going to be happening. It's going to be replacing a number of soldiers like Sentinel and the Wolves with this new Bodark faction. Though it also goes on to say that as players progress through Operation Motherland, they will free Aroa from the clutches of the Bodarks with the help of the Outcasts and Karen Bowman. We also have the return of faction warfare, which was also in the Red Patriot DLC. It goes on to say that Conquest mode marks the return of faction warfare to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. As players conquer Aroa, the Outcast presence will increase in the wild and in encampments, making faction warfare more frequent. You'll notice road checkpoints, convoys, hostage situations, and patrols fill the island based on faction presence. These events will vary in difficulty according to their respective regions. Be sure to check your TAC map to find out more details on each region's challenges. So now going back to that image we had of the map of Aroa, it seems to be that these areas that are highlighted with these red stripes are either going to be more difficult or there's something special with that region. Obviously at this point we don't know what that is, but you can see that there's 3 regions here that looks like it's green or blue or turquoise or something. That looks to be the ones that we've already conquered, and then the rest of them look to be neutral except for a couple of regions there that have the red stripes through it. Maybe that's difficulty based, maybe that's something special that's going to be in those regions. Obviously Golem Island is going to have some sort of importance with this DLC, which the way that island is crafted, it is definitely going to be the coolest part of the DLC because it has some really unique environments. So now moving on to some information that we actually have on Bodark. They are a ruthless infiltrator and manipulator that is allied to Sentinel and the Wolves, which to be honest I was not expecting. I was almost thinking that this faction was just going to come in and completely take over the island. We weren't going to see a lot of Sentinel, we weren't going to see a lot of Wolves, but it seems to be that the Bodarks have actually teamed up and allied with those 2 factions that are already on Aroa. So with that, there's actually going to be 5 new Bodark enemy archetypes that are going to be present both in encampments and in the wild. So first off, we have the Tactician, which is going to be an enemy that will call for backup unless they are eliminated quickly, which that will definitely kind of throw a wrench into things, that if you do not take this enemy out, maybe there's going to be more backup or reinforcements, or, you know, you might fail missions if you don't take out the Tactician. Who knows? Obviously, only time will tell. Next, we have the Armored Oppressor, which is going to rush players down. So this seems to be similar to the current shotgun class, except they're going to be fully armored. I think this might be the class that we saw in the teaser trailer. We also have the Dreadnought, which is going to use rocket launchers. We have the Seekers, which will use rifles and optical camouflage. So this is going to be very similar to one of the enemy archetypes that we had in the Fallen Ghost DLC. I'm pretty sure that was the Tactician in the Fallen Ghost DLC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are going to have enemies that are going to be utilizing the optical camouflage in this new DLC, as well as we have the Trooper, which is going to serve as the bulk of the Bodark forces. So he's going to be your normal soldier. I believe that is the soldier that we also saw in the teaser trailer on the left. It looked like a normal soldier, so that's going to be the Trooper. So it goes on to say that each type of Bodark enemy will have equipment that changes based on the highland, urban, and wild biomes. Players will notice new Russian weapons and vehicle skins on the Bodark faction. Players are also going to be able to get kitted out with new items in Maria's shop, including the Mixed Materials Ghillie outfit. So their own options will increase along with the Bodark. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to be getting a new ghillie suit in this called Mixed Materials. So maybe it's going to be a little bit more detailed. We're going to see more things that are actually a part of the ghillie suit. And then hopefully the ghillie headpiece doesn't blow around in the wind like the one that we got in the last DLC. Now moving on to something they call Atmosphere. So this is something new that I did not expect in this DLC. But it goes on to say that the island of Aroa itself is going through some changes along with those fighting for control of it. New atmospheres specific to 5 separate zones will be in effect, with an overall autumn-winter feel. Weather changes including cloudiness, rain, fog conditions, and sunniness will vary more around the island based on the region. Players should notice more variety from day to day, particularly after bivouac rests. We have also done a thorough review of environmental effects including insects, fumes, grasses, and bird flight, which should add even more life to Aroa. So it seems to be that they're adding a bunch of new weather effects that's going to make the island feel a little bit more vibrant with the different weather patterns that they're going to have in the game, as well as them adding some new things with the insects and grasses and bird flight and stuff like that to make the island feel more alive. But I do have to say, if they're not adding more civilians around the map, more civilians out on the roads, similar to how it was in Ghost Recon Wildlands, I'm not saying that it's all for naught, but that's what we want to have to make it feel like a more alive open world. But this is definitely huge steps in the right direction. And now moving on to the optical camo and new progression systems that are going to be in this DLC. So it goes on to say that the optical camo is going to be unlockable in Conquest mode, and it will also function with a gauge system that starts at 100 and decreases with time and according to player action. Turning on the camo consumes a certain amount of the gauge per second, and firing a weapon and running will increase the rate of consumption. It also goes on to say that the optical camo allows players to be invisible to enemies up to a certain distance. As players increase the efficiency of their camouflage via the upgrade system, their camo will become even more efficient. While camo progression is only available in Conquest mode, the optical camo can be used in story mode as well. So that's definitely very interesting. So you're going to be able to unlock it in conquest mode, but you're going to be able to take it back in the story mode. But it seems there's going to be some sort of a upgradable progression system with the optical camouflage, and it's actually going to work in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. In Ghost Recon Wildlands, it really had no effect on enemies being able to see you. It seems to be in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, they've programmed it differently so that enemies are going to have a hard time seeing you, or they're not going to be able to see you at all up to a certain distance when you have the optical camouflage active, which is definitely a huge step in the right direction. That kind of goes back to how it was in Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Then now last but not least, it says that players will have many reasons to keep returning to Conquest mode as the maximum XP level has now been raised to 99. Skill points can be used to increase weapon mastery and focus on a preferred playstyle. Ghosts, we hope you're as excited for Operation Motherland as we are. Make your own path through Aroa with the launch of Operation Motherland on November 2nd. So that's very interesting. They actually raised the level cap to 99, so hopefully there's something there other than the number. So currently it's capped at level 30. Hopefully they added some sort of like a cosmetic system or a leveling system that kind of gives us something as we go. Hopefully it's not just a rank, because at that point it's not really worth the grind. It's just something to have a different number next to your name. So hopefully they added some items and stuff in there that we can unlock on the way, but that definitely does give it a little bit of a replay value if there's actually something to grind for. But with that being said, that's going to do it for the video. I know this video ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but there was an insane amount of information on Operation Motherland, and I do have to say, with the new conquest mode and having actual consequences to the missions that you do, hopefully that means there's a number of new missions that we can do in this DLC, and it definitely seems to be that this DLC is going to be longer than most of the previous DLCs that we've had in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So if you are a fan of this game currently, I think this is something to definitely be really excited about, especially because for those of you that did not know, this DLC is free. You do not have to pay for it. Obviously, there's probably going to be some cosmetic things in the store that you're going to be able to purchase for real money, but the actual DLC itself, the new Conquest mode, is free to play. So for those of you that already own Ghost Recon Breakpoint, you can log in and jump on and actually go into the Conquest mode right away. But like I said, that's all for the video. If you guys enjoyed it, you are excited about Conquest mode coming in with Operation Motherland, make sure to drop a like on the video and also subscribe if you are new to stay up to date on all content surrounding Operation Motherland and Ghost Recon Breakpoint on the channel moving forward. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.